Many people set goals for themselves for the new year, but what about having a vision for the new decade? South Africans have a poor savings culture. It's no secret, but it's also equally important to think of your financial future, especially in the wake of high unemployment and poor economic growth. Now, the cost of living keeps going up, so how can you best manage your money? I'm joined now by Ernest Zamisa, a financial planner from Momentum. Thank you so much, Ernest. I need this conversation, right? I mean, it is a new decade. We've set New Year's resolutions, but financially, what should we be looking at doing in terms of our finances?
Well, basically, I think it all starts from the beginning. And if you're not going to save, you won't have anything to have at the end of the day. And I think for us to start, we got to begin with frugality. You got to be frugal. What it means is starve whatever you don't love and feed whatever you love. And basically from that, you should be able to have sufficient funds that you can start putting away.
Yeah, and I said in my intro that South Africa has a very poor savings culture. What do you think that is?
You look at our history and the introduction to credit that exposed individuals to suddenly being able to expose themselves to more debt. And with the debt that has impacted individuals and the sudden lifestyle that we're exposed to. I mean, we want to live like a Western culture, so suddenly you want to be driving Bentleys when you haven't even gone through the Mercedes-Benz. And you also haven't learned how to manage those phases of growing. So I think that's the reason why we are in the position that we are. We just need to step back and say, all right, look, we want to have a good lifestyle, but let's do it at a paced pattern.
Right.
Let's start getting into things according to our affordability, according to the position where we are, and you can still have all those things that you want.
But at a pace, and I like that. I think it's a good point. Yeah. But do you also think that financial independence is possible, is a reality, especially with the tough economic times that we're in right now? I mean, when we're looking at telecom employees, they could be facing a chop amounting to an estimated 3,000 jobs there on the line. Do you think it's quite realistic to be financially independent?
Absolutely. I think what the economics are doing are irrelevant to what you can decide to do. Taking a look at the economics as well, if things are going bad, I think for yourself there are things that you need to start sacrificing. And in most instances what we've realized is don't sacrifice the things you love, sacrifice the things that actually come in at unexpected times. Okay. It's always the unexpected, the urgent, and the unwanted that suddenly pitch up, then you have to spend, or you have to make loans, or you have to incur more debt on those parts.
Right.
So what you should look at is stick to a budget. Have a goal. This is my goal. This is what I want to achieve. I've got a budget in place, and also stick to a required sort of budget you have for the savings. I want a certain capital amount for myself, so I'm going to be putting away this amount, and I want to see it every quarter. You can have a quarterly measurement for yourself and celebrate it. Yeah. And when I say celebrate it with things that you really love to do, right, and that you really enjoy, so that it has emotional significance. Because one of the deterrents of savings is behavior. And behavior is related to the emotional relationship we have with finances. So you've got to look at your finances as a marital partner instead of a casual affair that you have now and again. Like that. So you go into it and you say, look, I'm in love with my finances. I'm going to look at this and I want to see this partner of mine growing. Yeah. So if I'm starting with $1,000 in January, I should minimum have 12 grand in December.
So you're basically saying stick with your vegetable spouse and leave the chocolate affair that you see at the till, because that wasn't budgeted for, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's very emotive decisions that we take there. But also, before I let you go, I mean, oftentimes we hear that when people or South Africans are going through a credit crunch, the first things that they're quick to close are their insurances, their policies, those things that they would need in future, in of course hopes to save. Is that the right thing to do, especially when you're in that emotional state of either retrenchment or maybe cutting down on your budget? What do you then cut down on there?
And that tells you the danger of why they took those products. Number one, that means they don't understand why they took them. They don't have a purpose for them that's related or integral to their lives. Because once you take those products, so those products are as essential as a life machine that you would have in a hospital when you are critical. All right. So let's look at these things. If you've got a plan in place with a retirement annuity, right, your retirement annuity should be such that it's for the future.
Okay.
Right. And your savings, it shouldn't impact you in such a way that it actually chokes you. That's number one.
Right.
And whether you're going through a crunch or not, there should be a certain allocated amount, and as I say, 15% allocated to it. So when things change, that shouldn't change. Those should be constant.
Right, because they will assist you.
They will assist you. Let's look at your life cover.
All right, I have to leave it at that, but thank you so much, Ernest, for coming through and enlightening us. We need this in January, as we know there's a bad relationship that South Africans have with January, but we can make it responsible. And Ernest Amisa is here, our financial planner for Momentum, ensuring that we do exactly that.